Hey there, welcome to Violet's DIY Style. If this is your first time to my channel, I hope you consider subscribing. Also, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up if you enjoy this tutorial. So today I'm going to share with you how I made some fall decor pieces for my home. The first one we're going to work on is one of these mesh wreaths. And what I'm going to do is basically trace out the interior circle of my wire wreath, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out of cardboard. You can use any kind of cardboard, poster board, anything that's hard enough for it to hold up in the weather, especially if you're going to use it outdoors. So after you cut it out, just go ahead and grab something sharp and poke holes of some openings into that circle. Now, I didn't poke as many as I needed. I figured I could just continue poking through it as I go and start decorating my wreath. Just make sure you add 4 to 5 of the openings towards the end of that circle. That way you can attach it to your metal wreath. So once you did that, I went ahead and grabbed some wiring and then just twisted it onto my wreath so it could stay nice and secure and in place. If you don't feel comfortable just twisting the wires onto the wreath to attach it, you could add a little bit of E6000 or hot glue to each one of these to make sure it stays in place. But it did work perfectly fine with just the wiring. Next, what I did was I just grabbed some more of that wiring and then I just twisted it around the exterior of my metal wreath. And this is optional. You don't have to do this part. You can just grab the wiring as you go and twist it onto your metal wreath as you start attaching all the mesh to your wreath. So it's different ways you can do it. This is just the way I chose to do it. Next, I went ahead and grabbed 3 rows of this yellow with gold trimming or gold details in it from Dollar Tree, and I ended up cutting them all basically about 12 inches in length each roll, but I believe you could even do them even smaller if you wanted to, maybe 8 inches each one of these rolls, and I think it would work perfectly fine. But this is the first time I've actually made a mesh wreath. I've never made one. I've always thought they looked beautiful, but for some reason I've just never made one. So I was kind of just trying to figure out how to make it, but I think you could do an 8-inch strip and be just fine with that measurement as well. But again, for this one, I did do roughly 10 to 12 inches each one of the cuttings that I did. Once I did all of my yellow mesh, I went ahead and grabbed one of the brown ones with the same gold detailing, and I did the same thing to this one, basically just cut 10 to 12 inches of each one of the rolls. And as you can see, I'm rolling it as I go. That way they can stay all nice and pretty and have the same kind of width of the roll. So now what I decided to do was just go ahead and grab some of that wiring and just insert it into the openings of my cardboard circle. That way I can start twisting and adding the mesh inside once I get to that part. But again, that's completely optional. You can do it as you go and it would be perfectly fine. So once I was done with that, I just grabbed 2 of the rows and started twisting them and adding them to the exterior or the metal wreath part of my wreath. And all I did was just grab that twist, the wiring, and just twist it really nice and tight to each one of these gatherings of my mesh. And I know there's so many different ways to make a mesh wreath. I wanted to stick with the simplest one that I could see that was out there because, again, I had never made one and I wanted to make sure I kind of got the hang of it before I tried some more of those really pretty detailed kind of wreaths. But this one is absolutely beautiful and it was really pretty simple. Basically, you just grab 2 of the rows of each one of your cuttings of your mesh and just twist them and wire them onto your metal wreath. And I'm trying to make a sunflower or, you know, similar to a sunflower look. So this is the way I did it. And here is how it looks with 3 of the rows. And this is, again, is the smallest wreath, metal wreath that you can get at Dollar Tree. So if you wanted to go with the larger wreath, I would recommend you get at least 6 of the yellow rows if you want to go with the sunflower look as well. So once I was done with all the yellow, I left an opening or a gap, and that's where I'm going to place my bows. So that way I know that that's the top of my wreath. So after I did that, I went ahead and grabbed my brown mesh and I started grabbing 3 to 2, just kind of alternating and adding them onto the center of my wreath. And again, if you didn't add enough wiring, you can just go ahead and insert it as you go. Or if you need a certain opening where there isn't one, just grab something sharp and poke a hole through that cardboard and continue doing that until you're happy, and add all of your brown mesh just like this. So this is basically your sunflower look. And then once I was done, I went ahead and grabbed some sunflower ribbon that I had, and this is some wiring ribbon. And I believe I got this at Joann's, but usually when I do get it at certain stores, I always make sure I use one of their 40 or 50% coupons. So just make sure that when you do go in, or make sure that there's a sale as well, and you can get them pretty decent prices. Once you go ahead and just gather your ribbon and fold it together 4 to 5 times, just go ahead and cut right in the center, but make sure you just cut a little bit of an opening just so you can add that wiring and make your bow. And as you can see, I cut a longer strip for my tail of my bow. This is just the way I make them. There's so many different ways to make bows. And once you twist it around a few times, just go ahead and tighten your wiring, and that's how you're going to attach it to your wreath. So now you can just play with all the bow openings and then just kind of adjust it and fix it to the way you like your bow to be, and fluff it all up and then attach it to your wreath. And since I had just a little bit left of my ribbon, I went ahead and just glued it onto the center just to give it more of that finished look in the detailing, and you won't see the green wiring. But you can also just add a sunflower there and it would be perfectly fine, or leave it as is. And now I just made sure I put it where that opening was, where I had left that gap on the top of my wreath, and twisted it onto the metal part of my wreath. And I'm just kind of fixing my bow and fixing the tails of my bow to make sure they're where I like them. And then I just grabbed some more sunflowers that I have gotten from Dollar Tree as well, and just glued them to the center of my bow. And I decided to go with 2 of the sunflowers. And there you have it, an adorable fall sunflower wreath for indoors or outdoors. I thought it was a perfect size, not too big and not too little. Actually, I do want to leave this outside, but I think it looks adorable in front of a mirror as well. So for our next DIY, what I decided to do was grab some of these building blocks in the toy department, and I'm gluing 3 of them together. And then I'm going to grab 2 more and glue those 2 together, and then glue that 2 parts on top of my 3 blocks right in the center. Then I grabbed 1 and glued it right in the center of the 2. And this is how I made my pumpkins. And I love these little mini pumpkins, just to put them in front of a candle or on my tier trays or anything like that where you need just that little extra something. So next, what I did was grab one of those smaller square blocks that you can get at Dollar Tree, and there's quite a bit in a package. And I glued them on to the top to make the stems of each one of these pumpkins. Some of them I painted some forest green, and other ones I painted brown. And then once I was done, I went ahead and just decided what color I wanted each pumpkin and where I was going to place it. So the first one, I went ahead and just painted it orange. The second one, I painted it the blue that I'm going to actually incorporate and use in my bathroom with all my kind of fall decor that I've been making. Then the third one, I just painted it the classic farmhouse white. So what I did with the orange one is I sanded down all of the edges to make it more rustic looking. And then I grabbed some greenery for the white one, some green wiring, twisted it on a stick and just cut it off. And I'm going to attach it to make the stems of my pumpkin, or the vines. And I did this one to the white one. And now for my blue one, what I did was grab some jute twine, make a simple bow, and then I grabbed one of those little small miniature shells that you can get in these little jars, and I glued it right in the center of my bow. And there you can have it. Some adorable mini pumpkins that you can place all over your home. So our third and final DIY is super simple also, and I've been making these and enjoying them, making them for all the holidays. I basically got one of these foam ball glitter vase fillers that you can get at Dollar Tree, and they usually have all different colors. This one is the lime green and orange for fall. And all I'm doing is grabbing a really big needle and some thread, and I'm just inserting them in, kind of making a pattern of 3 green and 1 orange. And you can make it as long as you like. Then I grabbed a witch hat and just threaded it through the opening of the witch hat with my thread and needle a few times, and then just tied a really good knot to make sure it stays nice and secure. And just make sure you get some heavy duty thread, or even some jute twine if you have a large enough needle that you can do that. After I added a little bit of glue where I knotted it and attached my witch hat, I went ahead and got a permanent marker and just outlined the edges. Then I grabbed some orange glitter ribbon and some black glitter ribbon, cut that in half to make it a little bit thinner. And then I made little bows with each one of these sections. And all I did was, you can see, is just make a circle and then divide that circle in half, and that makes your bow. And I just hot glued it. I didn't want that knot in the center. And then once I did all 4 of these, which was 2 orange and 2 black, I just alternated each one and made 1 large bow. And the way I do that is basically I add 1 bow, glue the other one on top kind of in an angle. And then I glue another orange one on top of that, the opposite angle. And then the black one at the back. And now all I'm going to do is attach it to my witch's hat. And there you have an adorable beaded garland. So what do you guys think about these projects? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you did, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and share with friends and family. Until next time, you guys stay blessed. Bye.